perfection. The British are the policemen, correct? Swiss are the finance managers, and Latinos are the lovers. Hell is the place where the Latinos are the finance managers. Swiss are the lovers. Very unromantic. Germans are the policemen. The French as the technician, engineers. And the British as the cooks. You can't the cooks. You know, in Latin America, the people are given the most importance, more than systems, institutions, and rules and regulations. Unlike in United States, where they give more importance to computers than to common sense. They don't look at you, they look at the computers. I have two sons. One was born when I was posted in Karachi, in Pakistan. The other was born when I was posted in Libya. So when they went for visa to the American embassy, they said, born in these places, potential terrorist. So I talked to the ambassador. I gave a letter to him saying that it is not their fault. I happened to be posted there. They were born there. After the first 2-3 years of their life, they have never been there. Nothing. Everyone agreed. But every time my children travel to United States, even now, one of them works there. Every time they go, the guy at the immigration says, "Sir, can you please step aside?" And they go through this. Now, I believe it's not only my problem, even for American diplomats, if their children were born in Libya, they also have to go through the same thing. You see, the computers are more important to them than the people, what they say, or the common sense. In Latin America, in United States, if you have to succeed in life, the secret, the formula is know how. Know how to succeed, how to become a millionaire, how to become an engineer, how to give a speech. They have lots of books. Know how. They say in Latin America, the secret to success is know who. Who are you? Whom do you know? Who are your amigos? My Argentine friends, they have a joke about this know who. There was a very famous, colorful Argentine president called Carlos Menem in the 1990s. He was president for 10 years. Very colorful, he was like a playboy. And he used to go in his helicopter, land in the golf course, anywhere he sees and plays golf. And even when he was in jail, the jail was full of his girlfriends. Wow. Finally, around the age of 16, he decided to marry a Chilean model, half his age and twice his size. But she put a condition. She said, we'll be married, but I don't want to have your children. Oh, yes. But one day, when she went for a routine check with the gynecologist, the gynecologist said, "You are pregnant." Immediately she picked up the phone and called Carlos Menem. "Hey Carlos, you know what? You made me pregnant." Shouting and screaming. Carlos Menem was unperturbed, very calm, quiet, listened, and then said, "Who is speaking?" Who is speaking? The Argentines are a great sense of humor. So I asked them, Argentina, a country which was one of the top 10 richest countries in the world in the 1900s after the First World War, ahead of Switzerland. They had this great crisis and they had the world's largest debt default of $90 billion in 2002. I asked them, what's the reason for this? How do you explain this? Of course, they have an explanation for everything. They said, it is because of the women and the men of Argentina. The Argentine women do not admit their age, and the Argentine men do not act their age. And then they gave me a historical evolution of Argentina. Watch my hands. They told me a story about the history of the world, how the world has evolved, how Argentina has evolved. They said in the beginning, it was Moses. He stood on top of the mountain and said, God, you are all power. You are everything. Without you, there is nothing. Then came King Solomon. He stands here. Man, use your head. You can change the world. Then came Jesus Christ. Heart, love thy neighbor. Problems will be solved. Then came Karl Marx. If this is empty, there will be revolutions. And then came Sigmund Freud. So my Argentine friends say that Argentina is in the Freudian stage. In fact, statistically, Buenos Aires has more psychiatrists per capita than even New York. And the Argentines have a joke about Indians also, about our character. They think that we are too serious, too slow. So they say, how do you make an Indian laugh on a Friday? Tell him a joke on Monday. It will take 5 days. Understand, to analyze, to make arguments, debate, consult his astrologer, and finally decide to laugh on a Friday. But I love Latin America. I love Latin Americans. I have lived for 12 years. The Latin Americans are wonderful, wonderful people. Warm, friendly, cheerful, free-spirited, optimistic, confident, full of self-esteem. And I like what I call as the Latin American philosophy. And this is best described in a pop song by Axel. Anyone know of Axel? From Argentina, the famous pop singer. There is this song, Celebra la vida, segundo a segundo, nada se guarda, todo se vende, which means celebrate life, second to second. Don't hold anything, give up everything. So this is the Latin American philosophy. About the Latin American people, to understand them a little better, one could make a comparison with United States, because both have similar history. In both you had native Indians. Then the Europeans came, killed most of them, conquered, colonized, settled, and then brought Africans as slave labor. They did exactly the same. But United States is in the first world. Latin America is in the other world. Some people have an explanation for this. They say it is due to the original people who started this process. Now, in the case of United States, the people who went there were people who wanted to create a new world, free from religious persecution, free from the old world. But in the case of Latin America, the guys who went there, the Spanish and Portuguese, they went there to establish the old world, status quo, same like their parent country, Spain and Portugal, with the same hierarchy, same value system. They didn't want any change. In United States, the people went there with families, but the Spanish and Portuguese who went to Latin America, most of them were bachelors. So they created families there. Anyone available, either wife or concubine or whatever, and they created, and they had a justification for that. They thought all these children, dozens born from different women, they would be the guardians of their empire. In United States, people went with tools, implements, to farm, to do work, to engineering work. They took all the implements and tools. But in Latin America, they went with the cross and the sword. In United States, anyone could go. There was no restriction. But in Latin America, the Spanish and the Portuguese restricted who could go. Only the royalists and Catholics. And then, the most vital difference was, in United States, the business model was customer is the king. So you service the customer, give him satisfaction, give the best product, best service. But in Latin America, it was the other way. The king was the customer. The Spanish and Portuguese kings. They said, you do anything. You do mining, you do farming, you do business, but give 10%. So some people say that this was the character of the original people who settled in different regions, which explains the current state of affairs in the two regions. Another thing which people say that Latin America, Latinos, Latin Americanos, but the outside world does not understand that it has got a very interesting mix of different ethnic groups. You have Europeans, you have people of African origin, about 85 million. You have native Indians, over 40 million. You have people of Syrian, Lebanese origin, about 5 million across Latin America. You have Jewish people of something about 300,000. And you've got over 1 million Japanese, Koreans, and Chinese, except the Indians or Indians. The Europeans, again, went from different countries. Of course, the first to go were the Spanish and the Portuguese. Many people say that, oh, Latin America had lots of military dictatorships. They didn't have democracy in their blood. But if you analyze it, in Europe, the two countries which remained as dictatorships till very recently, till the 70s, Spain and Portugal, Salazar and Franco. So you can't blame the sons, the fathers were like that. Then you go to Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo has more Italians, people of Italian origin, than Rome and Milan put together. Buenos Aires, lots of people of Italian origin. So they say all this mess in Sao Paulo, traffic mess, the chaos, and all the debt crisis in Argentina, they're all created by these people of Italian origin. You can't blame Carlos Mena because you had someone like Berlusconi. Then, when you travel in Paraguay, it is now what it was about 100 years back. I might have read this book of Graham Greene called Honorary Consul. I recommend you read Honorary Consul by Graham Greene. It describes the life and the politics and the diplomatic life of this honorary consul in Paraguay 100 years back. And it has not changed even now. But then when you drive, suddenly you come across a colony, a farm, a factory, which is very efficient, organized. When you go for meetings, people come in time. You get surprised because they have blonde hair and blue eyes. People from Germany, people of German origin. You travel in Brazil, you think that all samba. No, but you go to Blumenau, Joinville, Curitiba, there you have these people of German origin, very industrious, punctual. Then you have people of African origin who have added color and enriched Latin America, particularly in culture and sports. All this carnival, samba, salsa, all these, many of the sportsmen, they are of African origin. You have about 85 million, of which 70 million are in Brazil. Brazil has the largest people of African origin outside Africa, much more than the United States. Outside Brazil, you have people of African origin in the Caribbean coast, Venezuela, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and so on. This is something interesting. Unlike the politics in the United States, where there is black power, there is politics, there is discrimination, but you don't hear so much in Latin America because there is easy acceptance, mix, and I haven't heard of any politician saying that, oh, we must fight for the Afro-Latin Americans. There have been no case at all in any of the countries because of the easy blending and acceptance and mixing of the people. Then you have native Indians. We have in Bolivia the first native Indian who have become president, Evo Morales. In the 400 years history of Latin America, I think in Mexico there was Benito Juarez. He is also from the native Indian side, but in modern times, Evo Morales is the first one. In Bolivia, it was a kind of apartheid. The local native Indians were not allowed anywhere near political power, economic power, business. But now you have a native Indian for the first time who has become the president. Now people misunderstand this. People say leftist, he does this, that. But what you have to understand, his priority, number one priority, is not development of Bolivia per se. It's not reforms he wants. What he wants is empowerment of the Indians. The Indians who are discriminated and excluded from the power system for the last 400 years. He wants to give power to them. So that is his number one priority. Now, he's a great inspiration for the other native Indians. In Mexico, there are over, I think 15 million native Indians. And they had some political movement, partially successful, but it did not lead to its logical conclusion. The other country is Guatemala, where there are lots of native Indians, Mayans, and hope to see one day Rigoberta Menchú as the president of the country one day. Last time she stood for election, she lost. Then you have Syrian Lebanese. You know, when I met Carlos Menem, Argentina showed me his Syrian passport. The Syrian Lebanese are very strong in business. So if you want to talk about economic diplomacy, if you want to do business in Latin America, you better identify and go to the Syrian Lebanese clubs. That's where you find lots of money in business. And you know, Carlos Slim, the wealthiest man in the world, now he has gone number 2 after Bill Gates. He was there for the last 2 years. He is Lebanese origin. And you had a number of other presidents and political leaders who are of the Syrian Lebanese origin. Then you have 300,000 Jewish people, of which 200,000 are in Argentina and the rest spread out. And they control money, they control hedge funds, and they control business. Then you have Japanese. Now, Japanese case is very interesting. Many of you would have thought that people who went as bonded laborers or Indians who went to Fiji, Mauritius, and Guyana. But you know, the Japanese in the 1900s, they went as laborers to work in coffee plantations in Brazil. There are about 1 million of them. But you know, normally when you look at the Japanese, they do all these, correct, quiet, and subdued. The Japanese in Brazil, they are someone. Normally the Japanese people don't like to disturb others. They show extreme caution and respect for other people's privacy. You know, in the 70s, when Brazil was going through a crisis, some of the Japanese in Sao Paulo, they are located mostly in Sao Paulo, they migrated illegally, some of them, to Japan to work there. And do you know how the Japanese police used to identify and track them down? So they will do round of the streets in the night after 12 o'clock. Wherever there is loud music and dance noise coming, that should be the Brazilian Japanese. Then you have Koreans. They came after the Korean War. There should be about 500,000 across Latin America. Where do you meet the Koreans? You go to the golf courses. They not only play in the general golf courses, they have created their own golf courses. In Brazil, in Argentina, in Paraguay, their own courses. Then you have Chinese, the latest arrival to Latin America. They are there everywhere, from Antigua, Barbuda, St. Lucia to the biggest country, Brazil. Everywhere. And they come to the government and they come on their own. In Buenos Aires, in greater Buenos Aires city, there are about 10,000 supermarkets which are run by the Chinese. I used to live in an area very sophisticated. If I needed something after 8 o'clock in the night, I go to a shop, the guy can't speak Spanish. The Chinese. I have to buy only from him. I recommend for particularly the colleagues from Latin America to read this book called Cuentos Chinos, Andres Oppenheimer, the Miami Herald journalist. And then more than that, I recommend for everyone to see a movie, an Argentine movie. It's called Cuento Chino. It means Chinese tale. You know what we colloquially say, bullshit. So when they say Cuento Chino, it means, something, exaggeration. It's not true. This is a fascinating movie about these Chinese immigrants coming into Argentina. Now, the politics of Latin America, it has also gone through various stages and it has evolved historically. Initially, the Latin American politics is driven by the gods, the Mayan gods, Inca gods, Aztec gods. People